Have you ever wondered if the incredible stories from the Bible, like the parting of the Red Sea, could actually be true? For centuries, this event has been seen by many as a powerful miracle, a symbol of faith. But for others, it's been a point of skepticism. A story so grand, so unbelievable, it must be just that. A story. But what if I told you that modern science and archaeology are uncovering evidence that might just change everything? What if hidden beneath the waves of the Red Sea, there are secrets that align astonishingly well with the ancient biblical account? Let's dive right into the heart of the story. The book of Exodus tells us that after the 10 plagues, Pharaoh finally lets the Israelites go. Led by Moses, they journey out of Egypt. But Pharaoh has a change of heart. He gathers his army, his finest chariots, and pursues them. The Israelites find themselves trapped, with the vast Red Sea before them, and Pharaoh's army closing in from behind. It's a moment of sheer desperation. And then, the impossible happens. Moses raises his staff, and a strong east wind blows all night, parting the waters and creating a path of dry land right through the middle of the sea. The Israelites cross safely, but when the Egyptian army follows, the waters crash back down, swallowing them whole. For a long time, the prevailing scientific view was that this was a myth. A powerful allegory perhaps, but not a historical event. Most scholars pointed to the northern end of the Gulf of Suez, or even marshy lake areas in the Nile Delta, as potential, more plausible locations. But these locations never quite match the dramatic scale. Described in the Bible, the depths just weren't there for an entire army to be drowned so catastrophically. The story seemed destined to remain in the realm of faith alone. That is, until a researcher named Ron Wyatt came along in the 1970s. Now, Wyatt was a controversial figure, often working outside the mainstream archaeological community. But he was passionate and driven by a deep conviction. He believed the biblical accounts were literal history. He studied the text of Exodus intensely, looking for geographical clues that others might have missed. The Bible says the Israelites traveled for 3 days from the edge of Egypt. Wyatt followed this route and proposed a crossing point far different from the traditional sites. He suggested the Gulf of Aqaba, a much deeper and wider branch of the Red Sea. His proposed location was a place called Nuweiba Beach. It's a massive, flat, sandy expanse on the western coast of the Gulf of Aqaba. It's large enough to hold millions of people, just as the Bible describes the multitude of Israelites. What's more, it's surrounded by mountains, leading to a single point of entry and exit. If you were being pursued, you'd be completely trapped there, with the sea in front of you and no escape route. This geography perfectly matches the biblical description of being entangled in the land. But the most incredible part of Wyatt's theory wasn't just the beach. It was what he believed lay on the other side, and, more importantly, asterisk under asterisk the water. Directly across from Nuweiba Beach, in what is now Saudi Arabia, is another shoreline that matches the description of where the Israelites would have landed. And using sonar equipment, Wyatt and his team scanned the seabed between these 2 points. What they found was astonishing. They discovered what appeared to be a natural, underwater land bridge. While the Gulf of Aqaba is incredibly deep, over 5,000 feet in some places, this specific path has a much gentler slope, descending to a maximum depth of about 1,000 feet, before rising again to the other side. It's wide and relatively smooth, a perfect pathway for a large group of people to cross. The story gets even more compelling. As divers explored this underwater bridge, they started finding things that didn't look natural. They found shapes that looked remarkably like chariot wheels, some still attached to axles. They found what appeared to be the skeletal remains of both humans and horses scattered across the seafloor. Many of these objects were heavily encrusted with coral, which is exactly what you'd expect after thousands of years underwater. The coral had essentially preserved their shapes. One of the most famous finds was a gilded, 4-spoked chariot wheel. Using underwater cameras, they captured images of it resting on the seabed. Gold doesn't corrode, so the gilding would have survived. 4-spoked wheels are characteristic of the 18th dynasty of Egypt, the exact time period when most scholars believe the Exodus took place. 6- and 8-spoked wheels came later. These weren't just any chariot wheels. They were the specific type used by the Egyptian royalty and elite of that era. Critics, of course, were quick to dismiss these findings. They argued that the shapes were just oddly formed coral formations. They pointed out that Ron Wyatt wasn't a formally trained archaeologist, and that his findings were unpublished in peer-reviewed journals. Some claimed that similar artifacts could have fallen off ships at different times throughout history. These are valid points to consider. Science demands rigorous proof and peer review. However, the evidence kept mounting. Swedish scientist Dr. Lennart Mahler, a research professor at the Karolinska Institute in Stockholm, became interested in Wyatt's claims. Initially skeptical, he decided to investigate for himself. He led several expeditions to the site and compiled his findings in a book called The Exodus Case. Dr. Mahler brought a more formal scientific approach. His team conducted more extensive sonar scans and dives. They not only confirmed the existence of the underwater land bridge, but also found a huge number of these coral-encrusted objects. They documented hundreds of chariot wheels, chariot bodies, and skeletal remains, all concentrated along this specific pathway. The sheer quantity of artifacts in one specific location makes the fell-off-a-ship theory much less likely. An entire army's worth of equipment would just accidentally fall overboard in a straight line across the Gulf. What's more, Dr. Maller and his team analyzed the metal content of some of the findings. They found traces of electrum, a natural alloy of gold and silver, which was commonly used in ancient Egypt. They also found human and horse bones that, when tested, were determined to be ancient. One of the most incredible finds was a human femur bone, which, although mineralized, was clearly identifiable. Think about the biblical account again. It mentions a strong east wind that blew all night. This has also been a subject of scientific inquiry. Computer modeling has shown that a sustained, powerful wind blowing from the east could indeed push back the waters in a phenomenon known as a wind setdown. If the wind were strong enough around 60 miles per hour and blew for about 12 hours, it could theoretically expose a land bridge in a shallower part of a sea. While this specific location in the Gulf of Aqaba is deep, the principle shows that the biblical description has a basis in known physics. Perhaps the miracle wasn't the creation of the wind, but its perfect timing and intensity, creating the path at the precise moment it was needed. Another piece of the puzzle is found on land. On both the Egyptian and Saudi Arabian sides of this proposed crossing, two identical columns were found. The one on the Egyptian side was discovered by Wyatt's team, though the inscriptions had been eroded away. The one on the Saudi side, however, was later found with Paleo-Hebrew inscriptions still visible. The inscriptions mentioned Mizraim, the Hebrew word for Egypt, death, water, Pharaoh, and the name of God, Yahweh. It appeared to be a victory monument. Many believe that King Solomon erected these columns on both sides of the Gulf of Aqaba to commemorate the miracle of the Red Sea crossing. It's like he was marking the spot, leaving a signpost for future generations. So, where does this leave us? We have a location that perfectly matches the biblical description of being trapped. We have an underwater land bridge where none was thought to exist. We have hundreds of coral-encrusted artifacts that look exactly like Egyptian chariot parts from a specific time of the Exodus. We have skeletal remains of humans and horses. We have columns erected on both shores, seemingly to commemorate the event. Is this absolute, undeniable proof that proves the Bible? For a skeptic, there might still be room for doubt. They could argue for alternative explanations for each piece of evidence. But when you put all the pieces together, the picture it paints is incredibly compelling. It transforms the story from a simple myth into a plausible historical event, supported by a growing body of physical evidence. It suggests that the biblical writers weren't just making up a fanciful tale. They were recording a real event, a memory passed down through generations. This discovery doesn't diminish the miracle. If anything, it enhances it. It shows that the divine can work through the natural world, through wind and water and geography, in ways that are both scientifically explainable and miraculously timed. It's a reminder that sometimes, the greatest truths aren't just written in ancient books, but are waiting to be rediscovered, hidden in plain sight, even at the bottom of the sea. What do you think? Could these findings from the depths of the Red Sea be the key to unlocking one of history's greatest mysteries? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Thanks for watching, and if you enjoyed this journey into the past, don't forget to like and subscribe for more.